This is the Hollywood Outsider, a weekly entertainment podcast where this week we're going to look at upcoming releases, bullet to the head, stand-up guys, and warm bodies. Bullet to the head. We're going to review John Dies at the End, Silver Linings Playbook, and Broken City. Our From the Outside In topic this week is what really constitutes ripping a film off. We're going to have the latest movie and TV news, including our own trivia segments. And my name is Aaron Peterson. With me today are my fellow host, Brian Williams.
Hi. I just want to let you know I'll be a little bit more subdued this episode.
Everybody just switched off.
It's the first step.
We just lost about 400 listeners.
Justin McCumber.
My side still hurt.
And Scott Clark.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. If you guys haven't listened, be sure to listen to last week's episode where Brian had a drinking problem.
Here's a tip if you do imbibe. Eat something first.
It's a good tip, Brian. We are recording this episode a little early, so if there's some major breaking news, like Spielberg's directing a Star Trek movie or some shit, we'll cover it next week.
Well, of course, you could also just perpetually check out our website and Facebook page and Twitter stuff, so, we can keep you updated that way.
See what happens when sober Brian takes over?
If Spielberg, though, were to suddenly take and confirm that he's doing a Star Wars movie, I would have a special episode that I would fucking do myself.
I'm sure you would.
I will be on standby. Just give me a shout.
Okay. We'll do our outcasts.
Let's go to movie news. Okay, apparently Guillermo del Toro, did I say it right?
Oh, he's getting so good, Justin.
Yeah,
He's making or producing every single movie released nowadays, apparently. Because now Charlie Hunnam, who was in Pacific Rim, is in early talks to join his Pacific Rim director again for Crimson Peak, a haunted house flick, which also just locked in Emma Stone for the female lead.
We talked about this one a little while ago, about this was going to be his kind of return to the horror that he's more known for, and this being a haunted house story. I'm kind of surprised that Charlie Hunnam is going into this one right after doing Pacific Rim, but it follows a Hollywood tradition of directors seemingly falling in love with particular actors and casting them over and over and over again, whether it's Tarantino recasting Samuel L. Jackson over, or Soderbergh with George Clooney. It seems like Guillermo del Toro and Charlie Hunnam have got a little bromance going, and now they're going to be doing another film together. I'm hoping Emma Stone won't try playing a femme fatale in this one, because it'll make me a lot more likely to want to see it. But yeah, it sounds cool. I love Guillermo del Toro's movies. Crimson Peak sounds like a fun one, and having Charlie Hunnam in it, sure. More of that, and Emma Stone, sure. Sounds good.
Why is he suddenly so hot, Del Toro? I mean, granted, I think he's talented and whatnot, but just all of a sudden his name is popping up on everything.
I think, if I had to hazard a guess, I would think that it was really The Hobbit, him being tapped to follow up that multi-billion-dollar series of films to do The Hobbit. Putting someone in the director's seat of a franchise like that is a huge indicator that this is someone of quality and talent. I think that is what really rose his stock in the eyes of a lot of people in Hollywood, and in particular the geeks amongst us who already had a bit of love for him for Hellboy and Pan's Labyrinth. Suddenly he was going to step into one of our biggest franchises of all time. The fact that he had to back out of it, I don't really think diminished that rise at all. But that would be a guess.
Do we know any more about the story of Crimson Peak other than haunted house?
No, they're keeping it under wraps.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're trying to keep it pretty close to the vest, and I'm glad for that. I'm tired of, like we said last week, going into movies and knowing pretty much everything about them.
Oh, wait until I talk about Broken City later, because that trailer tells the whole movie. The entire movie. American Horror Story producer Ryan Murphy and Paranormal Activity producer Jason Blum are teaming up for a remake of one of my favorite horror movies ever, The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Roberto Aguirre Sarcasa, who penned the Carrie remake, will script it. I know, right?
Man, you are like becoming this international man of names. I can't even make fun of you anymore. Well, not about that.
Sexual prowess, that's still on the table.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, still lots of fun material for that. Because we all know that you're not tossing any of your sexual prowess on the table.
No, he's just tossing salads.
Oh. Oh, Scotty gets off a good one.
Don't write that down for
I'm not
edit.
writing Brian down because he hasn't talked yet.
Oh, I thought we were still bagging on you.
No.
So, I was just kind of waiting for the next bullet to be fired. Anyway, I'm kind of surprised by this. I've actually never even heard of this movie before, which is kind of surprising. Yeah, I mean, it kind of surprised me because I'm really kind of I'm big on horror movies, and especially ones that are based on something that happened that was true. So, was this movie? Was the original version anyway? Was it made kind of on the heels of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, maybe to kind of
It was
kind of ride the coattails of that success?
It was made a few years later, but it's based on a true story, and they shot it very much in the same vein where it's a documentary style. But for me personally, I mean, this is just me personally. Me personally, it was a lot more terrifying than Texas Chainsaw because it wasn't ridiculously over the top. A guy running around with a chainsaw and everything. It very much was a guy that just snuck in the middle of the night, killed a bunch of people, and snuck out. And they filmed it very much a documentary style. It had a documentary feel. I mean, when I first saw it, I thought it was a documentary for a while. So, what's that?
Is he a ninja?
Yes. Yeah, ninjas and Texarkana.
Well, a ninja?
Ninja.
I don't know what that meant, but that sounds very dangerously close to problems.
How old is this?
I've never heard of this movie either.
77, I think. 1977. Mm-hmm.
God, Scotty wasn't even born yet.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm sorry that none of you have seen it. That's just a shame. It's a great horror movie. It's a great little independent horror movie. Very small. Don't go in expecting a whole lot, but it's definitely got that 70s vibe. James Franco will be directing and starring in Beautiful People, a true-life account of Jay Sebring and Sharon Tate, who were loved by Hollywood, but they were also the infamous victims at the hands of the Manson family.
This is a totally new story to me. I've never even heard of this, so I'm actually kind of interested in hearing about it, especially if it's like a Hollywood love story, but...
You've never heard of the Manson family?
No, I've heard of the Manson family.
Oh.
I didn't know that they murdered like this Hollywood. I've never heard of this Hollywood couple. Man, I said this like it seems like every other show we're talking about another biopic. I mean, it's just that's like the thing to do in the next couple of years.
Well, it seems like anytime the Manson, Charlie Manson, or the Manson murderers, or the Manson family is mentioned, you always hear Sharon Tate. You never really hear much about who Sharon Tate is or was, and I don't remember anything about this Jay guy, her boyfriend, or Jay Sebring, or was it boyfriend, or I guess boyfriend or husband, whatever. I mean, I just don't remember anything about him, so I'm kind of curious about who they were and kind of their story and why they were loved by everybody in Hollywood, because apparently like everybody in Hollywood loved these people, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and with all the other ones, all the other biopics coming out, I would be honest, I would be dishonest if I said that I was more interested in this one than the others. Like ones about like Houdini and that kind of stuff is more interesting to me than somebody in Hollywood. I don't know.
I'm just sick of the Mansons. I want that whole story to go away.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't find him that interesting. He seems to get a lot of credence just because he managed to make a lot of people follow him. Mm-hmm. Well, so do tons of terrorists and Unabombers and shit. I don't care. I don't want to hear this story again. I've seen it.
No, you're going to.
Yeah, you're going to.
I mean, he's one of the most famous serial killers, even though he didn't actually kill anyone. But he's one of the most famous killers of all time, especially in America. He is not going to be going away. So if this upsets you, prepare to be upset often again.
It doesn't upset me. It just more annoys me that we keep giving so much credence to this asshole. And,
yeah, but everything annoys you.
Yeah, you do. Stop talking. Okay, I'm not sure to laugh or scream about this, but collectible figures for Django Unchained, long a staple for film fans like us, collectors, are being pulled from shelves because groups like Reverend Al, I Love to Be on TV Sharpton, are protesting it. Someone please explain to me why he doesn't have something more intelligent to focus on than nerd dolls.
Well, I'm not going to, I can't talk to Reverend Al Sharpton and his mindset and what other things he could be or should be doing. I do think, though, that this is absolute bullshit. It is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, and I really cannot believe that the Weinstein Company folded to these fuckers. I mean, one of the things that was said is, and this is by a guy named Naji Ali, who's the director of the civil rights organization Project Islamic Hope. He called for the removal in a news conference saying, "I actually enjoyed the movie, but we cannot support this type of commercialization." First off, fuckhead, what do you think a movie is but commercialization? So don't talk out of one side of your mouth saying you like the movie and then the other be calling bullshit on these toys. It's completely ridiculous. A lot of people who have called for these things to be taken off the shelves and no longer sold say that it's offensive and then it trivializes the horrors of slavery. That's complete horseshit because most of the characters in these aren't slaves. Calvin Candy is one of them. Django Who's Freed is one of them. Dr. King Schultz is one of them. But then you've got Broomhilda the wife, and then you've got Samuel L. Jackson's character, Stephen. These are the characters that were created in action figure form. They didn't create just random slaves with chains around their wrists as action figures. These are specific characters in the film. Was this same thing brought up when Inglourious Bastards characters were brought out? Were anybody complaining that it trivialized the fucking Holocaust or the Nazis or anything like that? It's not like it's just, slave number 2 action figure. Every single Tarantino movie has had action figures made. This is just another one. It doesn't trivialize slavery. For me, it's not offensive. And I think the Weinsteins actually showed a bit of a pussiness, whatever, I can't think of a better word for it, in to these fuckers. I'm sorry, it's completely ridiculous. They should have stood up and said, no, you're in fact wrong, and here's how, instead of just capitulating, which kind of says to the world, yeah, you're right, that's what we were doing, when it's not what they were doing.
Well, I agree with you, Justin. When it comes to race, that's just a touchy subject that you just better just to kind of back off on, don't you think sometimes?
Chicken shit. That's what they are.
It's chicken shit. That is a touchy subject, but that's not what these action figures were about.
No, I understand.
But see, here's the thing. They're making it sound like there's some white guy in a shop making these, laughing maniacally, putting in a certificate of ownership. You could own one too. And just sending them off to white people. And that's not what. It's a collectible for film buffs. And They've done this for every film genre. Tarantino, all of his movies have like Kill Bill, where they got to knock it because you had Asians too. Yeah. I mean, everything that's become a cult film, like Tarantino's movies are considered cult films, even if they're popular. People like to collect those things. There's nothing. I've got a Dr. Evil doll, for Christ's sake. And there's no reason to have it other than I like it. And that's what people want them for.
That's offensive to middle people.
They want them to say, what's that?
That's offensive to little people.
That is. It's offensive to little people. It's a mini-me.
And bald people.
See, Brian, are you offended?
I'm terribly offended. I'm calling Al Sharpton right now.
I just feel, I just can't understand the logic. I can't. And I'm so sick of everything that's not racial being made about race.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to wonder if this isn't just some kind of publicity grab, and that's all it is. If that's true, then it's a shame because the people who make these action figures, this isn't Hasbro. It's not Mattel. These aren't, this isn't some huge conglomerate. It's a small specialty company that makes these action figures, and now they're going to be losing money because these asswipes don't have a fucking sense of humor, or they have a false sense of what's offensive and what's not.
But whoever got a hold of them before they pulled them, man.
Oh, God, on eBay, they're going for hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, they've got a complete set that's going over $1,000 right now.
Wow.
And to Justin's point, by them, what he's saying is by the Weinsteins pulling back, that's giving credence to Sharpton's argument.
No, I get you, but it would appear like you're the white guy fighting against a black guy if you stand up for it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that's why they probably back down. They don't want to have that.
No, you can make a defense of this fairly easily and not come across as being a bunch of racist bigots or whatever.
I agree.
How are you agreeing with both?
I agree. What? I'm just saying that it's not as easy as it sounds.
You ought to get
people
politics.
hate corporations as it is already, and you go up against somebody like Al Sharpton. No matter how you could do it as correctly as you want to, just like they did these action figures correctly with the right intention, and they're being perceived as wrong. You go up against somebody like Al Sharpton, you're going to have this perception that you're a racist.
I'm not a fan of his because he minimizes what actually is racism and makes everything about race, and I am not a fan of that.
I agree.
All that does is degrade both races.
Well, I'm not sticking up for
all
Al
races,
Sharpton.
I guess you should say. Let's go to something more fun. Paramount Pictures and J.J. Abrams have already put together a deal to make a feature film on Lance Armstrong's doping scandal. Hollywood doesn't even take a breath anymore.
Well, this is more fun.
It's more fun than slavery.
I don't know, man. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of controversial topics like this. I mean, between this and gun control and everything, I just like stay away from Facebook anymore. You can't even make a comment about anything with Lance Armstrong without starting a war, and you know this from personal experience. Yeah. The fact that this film will make money just for that reason kind of makes me upset. You know, people making money off of a news story like that. He messed up. Leave the guy alone. You know what I mean? He admitted to it. Granted, a little later than he should have.
Well, let's not get into that because we've all got opinions on.
I know,
that.
Yeah. We ain't talking about a guy who had an illicit affair or something like that.
Brian's like, I can respect that. I can't respect doping.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you're talking about a guy who just runs over people. Anybody that has stood up against him, he's taken them to court and tried to sue them and get them just totally shamed and 86'd out of any and every organization that they could possibly belong to. And the fact that he's done something so epic and phenomenal by winning 7 Tour de France titles and just being the inspiration for so many people fighting not only cancer, but basically any other kind of struggles he's got going on in his life, their lives with the with that Live Strong Foundation, and made the color yellow this fashion statement and the rubber bracelets. And I mean, this guy was revered in a saint-like manner. And when news comes out of him not only cheating, but bullying anybody that stands against him, it creates a lot of emotions for a lot of people on both sides of the fence. And that's what the studio's banking on.
Mm-hmm. That's the movie I want to see. I don't want to see one showing him doping up and then how he finally comes out at the end. I want a movie about what an a-hole he was to people that questioned him.
Right.
And I'm really surprised J.J. Abrams is getting involved. He usually stays far away from this.
That seems like a weird property for him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always thought of him as kind of a pompous and arrogant douchebag, but
I assume you mean Lance Armstrong, not J.J.
Yeah,
Abrams?
Lance Armstrong,
okay.
not Scotty.
Justin, you're a big J.J. Abrams fan. What do you think about it?
I'm just wondering where the aliens come in, or
time travel.
Maybe Lance came from a strange island where that's why he lost his nut. That's where the cancer came from. I'm wondering where the speculative fiction element's going to come in here.
Yeah, unless Abrams teams up with like Joss Whedon and Timur Bekmambetov and Michael Bay, and they turn this into like this sci-fi horror comedy that's got like a haunted house in space that's being attacked by like yellow tights wearing aliens who've got lasers shooting out of their space bicycles.
I'm just seeing where he stops.
Now this sounds like an episode of Doctor Who.
I'll watch that, but anything about personal struggles and doping and stuff, I just couldn't care less about that.
Me neither. I wouldn't go see it. It's Oscar bait. That's what it sounds like.
Welcome to Brian's Trailer Park. Oh my God. Britt, Candy, Cotty, and Faith are all like BFFs who are just bored with their humdrum college life. And they're looking just for some more excitement and stuff. So when they meet the bling-grilled alien played by James Franco on their spring break, he promises them all the excitement they can handle and leads them into a world of shooting bitches and drugs and 24-hour partying. Now, this sounds oddly like familiar and shit. So didn't I see like Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze do this in like the same movie a long time ago, Aaron?
Spring Breakers is the movie you're talking about. I don't even know if you said the name, but this looks so awful. Honestly, one of the most awful looking films I've seen in a long time. James Franco, I think, looks great. Cool casting choice. I
didn't know it was him.
Filling his grill with metal and shit. But you guys will probably debate me, but I think this looks like just the biggest piece of shit film I've ever seen.
I won't debate you. I have absolutely no desire to see this. This is like the essence of what makes me angry with what's going on in the world today. Like just the Valley Girls and it just makes me cringe watching this trailer.
It's Disney Girls Gone Wild.
That's funny.
Justin?
I don't know. There's part of me that kind of wants to see it, but I wonder if that's not just strictly James Franco's performance in this, which in a strange way reminds me of Oldman's performance in True Romance as that like Rastafarian kind of drug dealer. It's that complete transformation into somebody that I have never seen him try to be before. And so that intrigues me. and I do find it interesting that the characters in this film that are doing all sorts of bad things are girls and not your typical movie where the guys are the ones up to shenanigans and the girl has to be saved or something. They're the ones actually up to it. And that's interesting because it's a take I don't often see, but it does have a faint whiff of an MTV type movie. So I don't know. I'm really going to have to sit on the fence and wait for some more word to come in, maybe a different trailer or two before I commit to really wanting to be excited or completely blowing it off.
Do you wonder who runs James Franco's career at
You
any
have
point?
to.
He just goes from Rise of the Planet of the Apes to
soap operas.
Yeah, 127 Hours to General Hospital to this shit. I mean, what the hell?
I actually kind of respected him wanting to do General Hospital. I the guy wanted to try a soap opera. He picked one of the most famous ones, and he gave it a short little spin. The guy's experimenting with himself, with his craft.
Wasn't he doing something like going back to school or something while he was doing
he's got like a doctorate or something. So, he's not stupid. He just picks weird fucking films.
He does. I mean, this year we're going to see him in Oz, which looks great.
Yeah.
And this, which looks like shit.
That's spoiled.
Even the trailer for this just makes me cringe. That song that they're playing during it, like Spring Break, doing coke, like.
Yeah, it would have been so much better.
Anything else?
Convinced that song can be put on any movie trailer.
Yep.
And it'll just work. You could put on a Disney film.
That could have been on Mama.
Mama.
That's right.
All right, well, Spring Breakers opens up on March 29th. And going from teens to septuagenarians, we meet back up with Bruce Willis and John Malkovich in the action comedy Red 2. This time around, we miss Morgan Freeman and apparently Carl Urban, but we do pick up Anthony Hopkins and Catherine Zeta-Jones, so that's not too bad of a trade-off. If you haven't seen the first one, the Red movies follow some retired government assassins as they try to adjust to civilian life. But as Al Pacino once said, just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
And I do bad impressions.
Oh, Justin, you getting pulled back into this silliness?
I like the first one. It's again, it was a film that went a different direction, and until the Expendables kind of stole the whole old people being actiony thing and ran with it. I enjoyed the first one. The second one looks fairly funny. It doesn't look as good as the first one from the trailers. I have no idea what the end product is going to be, but it'll be one of those that I probably check out on video. But I'm not particularly excited by this one now. Color me more blue.
Okay, that took me off guard. I really like Red. I thought Red was a really fun movie.
Yeah,
everybody was tip top at the ace of their game in that movie. I don't want to see another one. I don't. I love Bruce Willis, and I'm really looking forward to the next Die Hard movie. But I'm getting tired of him playing the same role in every flick now, where he's just an older action hero.
Old tough guy now.
Yeah, try something different. He's a good actor when he tries other stuff. He just never tries other stuff anymore. He's become just Bruce Willis.
Oh man, I disagree. I think this is more of the same, and I think that's a good thing. It just, especially with a quirky guy like John Malkovich, and a straight-laced guy like Bruce Willis, just that. Going back and forth is awesome. I mean, the line in the trailer that made me laugh. He's like, "Please tell me that's a stick of dynamite in your pocket. I'm saving it for emergencies." Well, this is an emergency. That I want more of that kind of stuff. It's hilarious. I can't wait to see it.
Well, and I do find Helen Mirren as an action star appealing.
I do too.
She's really good. I will probably see it. It's just I'm not as excited about this one as I was the last one because it feels like I've already seen this movie.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they bring something different to it. I love Catherine Zeta-Jones, so I mean, anything she's in, I'm all for. I just want something different. And so
even Rock of Ages.
I haven't seen that. Sorry.
Yeah, so a little hole in your.
My repertoire.
I like Carl Urban. I was kind of hoping he would be back in this one, but I guess I don't think he is. So, But anyway, Red 2 opens on August 2. So if you haven't seen the first one, there's still plenty of time for that. And you can indulge your eyeballs and earlobes by watching these trailers and more at thehollywoodoutsider.com. If there's anything you want to talk about, get in touch with us in one or all of 3 different ways. You can email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com, facebook.com/thehollywoodoutsider, and tweet us at H_outsider. And don't forget, you can get your official I'm a Ho t-shirts at thehollywoodoutsider.com.
Stump the Hoe.
Stump the Hoe. Each week, one of our hosts poses a trivia question to the remaining hosts in an attempt to stump their fellow hoes and you listening. This week, it is Scott's turn. Scotty?
All right. We just talked about Red 2 coming out, but in the original, the character of Marvin Boggs was played by John Malkovich, but he was later changed after what actor dropped out of the role at the last minute? Was it A, John C. Reilly, B, Steve Buscemi, C, Jack Nicholson, or D, Ben Stiller?
Oh, I would say Jack Nicholson.
All right, Aaron says Jack Nicholson. How about you, Brian?
I'm going to say Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi. How about you, Justin?
Oh, I hate to be this asshole, but can you repeat the options?
Sure. A is John C. Reilly, B is Steve Buscemi, C is Jack Nicholson, and D is Ben Stiller.
I'm going to go with Ben Stiller. Fuck it.
Ben Stiller. You're all wrong. It's John C. Reilly.
Really?
Bullshit.
Oh,
You're wrong.
really?
You found the wrong question.
Brian's like, there's no way I'm wrong, asshole.
I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. I was.
Yeah, because he doesn't seem as old as the others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Nor is of the same kind of, where it's a strange kind of guy. I don't know. It
He's
didn't
not
seem
squirrely
right.
enough.
But what the fuck?
Buscemi seemed like a perfect fit.
Yeah, I thought that was the easy go-to.
Ben Stiller kind of took me off guard. I'm like, isn't he like just 40? Why would he show up in red?
Well, John C. Reilly's only in his 40s too, isn't he?
That's true. But Malkovich is 84.
Yeah, I mean, all of these people are kind of iconic in a way. I mean, they're they're all older. They're all pretty well established and kind of stepping outside of most of their kind of normal type of movies. So I don't know. John C. Reilly just didn't seem like a fit, but good digging there, Skippy.
Okay,
Thanks, man.
let's go to the big screen. John dies at the end. Justin, feel free to explain it.
Well, all right, we've got 3 movies that we're going to be reviewing here, so I'm going to try and keep this short. And to even try and go into what John dies at the end is all about would take far too long, and you would no more understand it at the end than you would at the beginning. So I'm just going to give you IMDb's very short, succinct summary. A new street drug that sends its users across time and dimensions has one drawback. Some people return as no longer human. Can 2 college dropouts save humankind from this silent, otherworldly invasion? Aaron, I know you were kind of excited to see this one because it's directed and written by Don Coscarelli, who also did Bubba Hotep. He's probably more famous as the director and the writer of the Phantasm movies, Beastmaster and whatnot. But Bubba Hotep is what he's most famous, well, probably more famous for now. Mm-hmm. You love that film. And so going into this, I knew you were going to be excited. Did you, what were some of your thoughts on John Dies at the End, if you can even form them into a cogent statement any better than the story itself?
Well, I'll tell you, my brother described this as Donnie Darko-esque, and he couldn't be more right. This movie is all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
Just everywhere.
Essentially, trailer was.
The street drug is they call it soy sauce in the movie, and it dilutes your mind and kind of enables you to experience psychic abilities, to see things others can't. It's really hard to explain. I thought about it all night because I'm really glad Justin got it because I don't want to try to explain it. I like it. I didn't love it, but as it takes a long time to understand what the hell is going on. Would you agree with that? I mean, it took me a good half an hour before I had any indication of what was going on in this movie.
Well, as far as some of the specifics of the story go, it did take a while. I mean, I kind of understood, all right, this is the kind of movie I'm going to be watching. This is the flow. I didn't have a hard time understanding what they were going for and how they were going to go for it. But I constantly found myself irritated. And I, in complete honesty, when I watched this film was not the optimal time to be watching a film like this. It was late at night.
Yeah.
I was fairly tired already. And this kind of movie requires a lot more attention and a bit of vigilance than maybe I was prepared to give it. So I found myself quite often rolling my eyes and being irritated at the film's, and I have to assume the book as well, its attempts at irreverence and winks and nods and just being cute for cute's sake. I can't say that I had a good time watching this, but it was late at night, so it could be more me than the movie. Now, the film, though, has it doesn't star a whole lot of names that a lot of us are going to be familiar with. I think the biggest name actor in it is Paul Giamatti. Clancy Brown is in it as well. People might remember him as the Kurgan from Highlander. I actually enjoyed his character and the look of his character quite a bit. And Doug Jones is in it as well. But the two leads, Dave and John, were played by a couple of guys that I don't think I could have recognized if you pulled me into an Abercrombie and Fitch store and said, all right, who are they? I would not have known. So did you find their performances in this movie at all riveting, or was just the wackiness of it this real star of the show?
Well, Rob Mays plays the title character of John, and he's okay. I mean, he's fun. He's out there. He's a little wacky. But Chase Williamson actually plays the star of the movie, David Wong, which is funny because the guy who wrote the movie is David Wong, so he named the character after himself. That's pretty funny. He really has the obscene tone of the film down. He seems like from the beginning he knows exactly what kind of movie it is. I thought he did a great job. Paul Giamatti was great. I thought his character is kind of he comes in as someone that doesn't understand what the hell's going on, doesn't believe any of it, and then at the end kind of changes his tune. I love his take on it, and Clancy Brown's as well. But those two guys were actually I was pretty impressed with.
Yeah, I would be remiss if I also didn't mention that Clancy Brown also played a character in Lost. So I want to leave that out. The two leads, they're all right. I did like Paul Giamatti quite a bit. So that was kind of a lone bright ray of sunshine in this particular film. This was a low budget movie. It didn't have a lot of money to throw at the special effects, and for the tone of this kind of movie, I think that actually worked in its favor. I think if things had been too pretty, too shiny, too glitzy as an ILM could have done, or a big name house, it probably wouldn't have worked as well. This thing needed a little bit of a cheesy tone and look to it. So the production of it, from the direction to the special effects, how did you enjoy that part of it? This
is low budget 80s style filmmaking all the way. It really is. Don Coscarelli, he was a filmmaker born in the 80s, and apparently he never left. It seems like he had a hard time figuring out the tone himself at the beginning, but by the end of the movie, you know exactly what he's going for. It's very much like I would call it Big Trouble in Little China meets Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
Kind of how I would say it.
Yeah, that's the most appropriate, probably kind of joining together I could imagine.
Are you saying that is a good thing or is a bad thing?
I'm saying it's a good thing. It's definitely a throwback to the old Carpenter flicks of the 80s and stuff. I mean, it's just crazy. And the special effects, like Justin's, this movie cost $16 to make. I mean, and that's giving it some extra bucks on top of it. I mean, it's $16 maximum. The special effects are funny. They're that bad. I mean, we can make it right now in my basement if you want.
That makes me really want to see it.
It's really cheesy, but like you said, it really works to that effect, to the film's effect, because it increases, what it's going for, the ridiculousness factor, and I think it works. I really think the special effects work for its advantage. It is very much a low budget movie, but I liked it a lot. I liked it a little. I didn't like it a lot.
It also reminded me a little bit, as far as the effects go, to Evil Dead. Kind of the flying eyeball sort of thing. But I will say that using Big Trouble in Little China as a reference, while appropriate, diminishes Little China a little bit for me, because I love Big Trouble in Little China. I'm much more a fan of Carpenter's take on this and perhaps this film. But I guess it kind of leads us to the end, our end verdict. What did you think overall? Would you see it again? And what would you give it if you had to pay $1 out of $10?
Wild, weird, all over the place, but a nice throwback to those crazy Carpenter flicks from the 80s. $10 is a full price admission. I give it $5.50.
I didn't enjoy it as much as I wished I had. I kind of thought going into it that its tongue-in-cheek, ain't I cute thing was going to bother me, and it did. If I had to go to a theater and see it again, I would probably pay $4 to do so. I was not particularly enthralled with this movie, and I doubt I will ever see it again. But who knows? Maybe one day I'll be bored and I'll actually be more awake and prepared for a film like this, and give it another chance. If I do, I'll let you know.
All right. Silver Linings Playbook, Scotty.
All right, Silver Linings Playbook. Bradley Cooper in this movie plays Pat, who's a former teacher. Spent some time in a mental institution after an altercation with his wife. He moves back in with his parents, one of which is played by Robert De Niro, as he tries to work things out with his wife, who has a restraining order against him. He then meets Tiffany, who's played by Jennifer Lawrence, a girl with her own issues stemming from the loss of her husband 3 years ago. The pair eventually become friends and wind up helping each other through each of their respective emotional and mental problems. Now, I personally don't have a whole lot of experience with anything as far as mental illness, like myself or family members or anything like that, but Aaron, I know you said it's a subject closer to your heart. How did you think the film handled that?
Well, yeah, I've been crazy for years.
I didn't mean that.
I should preface this. My mom's been in the mental health business for decades. So I've been around it my whole life. I've had a lot of people that I know that have been affected by it. So whenever I see movies like this, it's always they're either really crazy or you don't see any signs at all. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you how much I can't stand that. The One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest representation of what mental health really is. There's a lot of people that are affected by mental health that you would see as normal people, that you would see at the grocery store, or you would hang out at the break room or something like that. And it's nice to actually see a film where they showcase that portion of mental health and not just make him seem over the top, crazy, batshit nuts. I think that Silver Linings Playbook does a really wonderful job of painting real mental health issues. Bradley Cooper's character has bipolar disorder, and Jennifer Lawrence suffers from traumatic guilt, and represents them as real people with real problems. They're not just crazy fuckers, but they're still good people. I've heard some people knock the film, calling this Oscar bait, and to them, I'd say you've never known anybody that's really had these issues. So, I think they're very true to life. They are very true to life to what I've seen from bipolar disorder and traumatic guilt.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because I've recently started suffering from depression that I take medication for. My family has wrestled with this. My mom was actually in a hospital for a little while because of agoraphobia and other related mental health issues. So to see a movie not treated as just the butt of a joke is nice to hear.
And it was. And, they do have jokes from the issues, but they're not laughing.
Laugh with it, not at it.
They laugh with it, not
exactly.
at it. What did you think, Scott? As somebody that you've never experienced it, well, let me tell you, you got some. You're just not aware of it.
Right.
You just need to look a little deeper.
No, it's one of those movies that I wanted to see it just because of the Oscar buzz, that kind of thing. I wanted to see what everybody was talking about. And when it started out, I did not think I was going to like this movie. The first 20 minutes, any movie that has any kind of mental disorder, I find myself making it's hard to watch. I don't like seeing people suffering. I don't like seeing people dealing with people that are dealing with this, and that's what I thought this whole movie was going to be like. And it really turned around, and it's kind of an anti-romantic comedy. It veers away from the typical tropes of a romantic comedy, but still gives you what you want and makes you smile, if that makes sense. So from that aspect, I really liked the story and the way that it went. It had some goofy moments that it made me laugh a lot more than I expected it was going to.
Did you agree that they treated it respectfully?
Absolutely. I mean, there was nobody was making fun of anybody. Nobody was a butt of a joke for it. It wasn't, I think of movies like Something About Mary, where they treat that completely differently.
That's one that really pissed me off, honestly, to watch.
Yeah, you get the sense that these are real people, everyday people that just have some issues.
This is more of a drama with some comedy in it than it is a comedy about a serious issue.
Yes. David O. Russell's the director, and he made a film that mental health is a part of the story, but it's not the story. The story is really two people trying to get their lives back, and they get their lives back through meeting each other, and et cetera, et cetera. But mental health is a big part of how that occurs, and they treat it very respectfully. But there's a lot of comedy too, but it's definitely not a comedy.
Right.
Yeah, because some of the trailers and stuff you've seen for it, some of the commercials leading up as you got closer to the release of it, you weren't really sure what to expect from it. Some of the earlier ones, it looked serious with some comedies. The other ones, it kind of looked almost slapsticky. So
yeah, and the acting,
I'm real sure what to expect.
The acting I was really impressed. Bradley Cooper, as far as I'm concerned, deserves his Oscar nod. I think he deserves the Oscar from what the performances I've seen. And that's not taken away from like Daniel Day-Lewis and Lincoln. But the whole time I'm watching him, I know he's acting. And I keep thinking, wow, he's acting wonderfully. I'm watching Bradley Cooper. I see people I've met before. And to really encompass bipolar disorder is really hard to do. And the fact that he did it, and I'm really surprised by him because I don't consider him, a quality actor. I consider him a fun guy to watch, but not really somebody I would say is an actor. He nails it, man. The outbursts that he has and how he makes his logic seem logical. I think he did it wonderful. He impressed me a hell of a lot more than Daniel Day-Lewis did.
Well, I didn't see Lincoln, so I can't speak to that. But I agree with you very much in the fact that he doesn't seem like he's acting. He just seems like he's himself in that role. And especially when you see him in other roles where he's playing the sarcastic or the goofy guy. This is, I mean, he's got a little twinge of that, but he's very much made this character.
And Jennifer Lawrence, I wish I could just be visual and tell you how purty she is, but she's just a wonderful talent. I think she's great, and watching her transform in the movie is just something that'll either it made me smile leaving the theater, like, wow, that was great to watch.
Yeah.
Robert De Niro, best I've seen him in years.
Seriously,
I was expecting
fantastic.
like a Ronin performance, where he just shows up, gets a check, walks out, but he was great.
And he had a full range too, because you could tell he had some mental issues of his own, or at least in the past, and he's been dealing with it. But at the same time, he just wants to spend time with his son. He's got some different reasons for it.
Yeah,
but.
I mean, he's really into the Eagles football, and he's into superstitions, and you can tell he's very OCD. I mean, he has a lot of OCD issues. And Jackie Weaver plays Cooper's mom. She's great. And Chris Tucker. I was so happy he didn't burst at me like, oh, you just got knocked the fuck out. That's what I was expecting.
Yeah.
He never once took it over the top. Not once.
He definitely played a character in this role, and it was a good character that
very genuine,
mildly,
very sweet.
Yeah,
I was very impressed with him. I mean, it's a Chris Tucker I've never seen on film before.
Ever.
Like,
I mean, Chris Tucker plays the Fifth Element role in like every
in every movie
he does, and he you genuinely believe that this guy was just a nice guy that just had some problems, and he brought some humor to it that was just unexpected. Like you just
and he plays somebody that was in the hospital with Bradley Cooper's character, and keeps saying he's been released when he wasn't, and I mean, it's just little things like that. There's little touches.
What about the production? How do you feel about the film?
It's a simple romantic drama.
Yeah.
There's nothing too crazy in the world of special effects. David O. Russell knows how to capture drama as well as comedy. So, as far as that's concerned, he did a wonderful job.
One of the things I liked that he did with the camera work, and it's maybe more of akin to the cinematographer or whatever, but there's a lot of story that was told in some of the close-up shots that were done in the film. Like when they would focus in on his hand to show the wedding ring, or they would focus on her face. The camera was telling a lot of the story without using any actual dialogue, and I thought that was kind of clever.
Well, what do you think? What's the verdict overall?
Well, this is a film that I believe that shouldn't be missed simply because of the overhype of the Oscar buzz. The acting is really incredibly believable. You attach the characters, and it will make you laugh more than you would expect from a film about mental health, and for the right reasons. Highly recommended. I gave it an 850.
I thought it's one of the most honest romantic dramedies I've seen in years, not just this year, but years. And I loved every performance. I loved especially how respectful they handled everyday mental health issues. $10 is the full price. I give it $9.50. And I can already see it on my top 10 list for 2013 because that's when it was fucking released wide.
So that's a 2013 movie, not a 2012 movie?
Yep. It ain't going on 2012 because it came out wide in 2013. I don't care when they release that shit. Let's go to Broken City, DJ. If you could hit it, I'd appreciate it. Mark Wahlberg. God, it's so loud. Mark Wahlberg stars as Mark Wahlberg. Only they're calling him Billy Taggart in this movie. He's a disgraced cop who's kicked off the force for allegedly killing a murder suspect. 7 years later, Billy is called by New York City's Mayor Hostetler, who's played by Russell Crowe, to look into an affair by his wife, played by Catherine Zeta-Jones. Billy gets pictures, somebody ends up dead, and Billy realizes the mayor is not nearly as clean as everyone thought he was. Now, I talked about this earlier real quick. If you saw the trailer, I promise you've seen the entire movie. The entire movie. This is a prime example of a trailer that gives everything away, and there's zero surprises. The story is very straightforward, and the only twists that are in it are actually in the trailer. So, I don't know. However you feel about that. If you feel like it worked for you, then you want to go see it in the theater, then good, because that's exactly what you're getting. Acting is where the movie excels. There's a lot of quality actors, including, the Ted guy and Russell Crowe. You got Catherine Zeta-Jones, Jeffrey Wright, Barry Pepper, Kyle Chandler, Mark Wahlberg, and, of course, Russell Crowe. The movie might be predictable, but it's still engaging because the performances are all solid, and Mark Wahlberg, for me, actually hangs in there with Russell Crowe, which is impressive. So the production's pretty standard thriller fare. Do you guys know who the Hughes brothers are?
Yes.
Okay.
Didn't they do like Dead Presidents and things like that?
Yeah, they've done a lot of those kind of films. And this is the first movie where Alan Hughes is not making it with his brother Albert, so it's just an Alan Hughes movie. I don't know, maybe they broke up or something. Family dispute, one's banging the other one's wife. I have no idea.
Maybe one of them became a girl and now they can't be the Hughes brothers.
Wow. You took it a little further than I intended, but
Is that what happened? Is that what happened to Cloud Atlas?
oh,
Why don't you shut the fuck up?
wow.
Don't get in this fight, Scotty. I don't
Okay.
want you crying again.
There's nothing about this movie that is really going to make you go, wow. It's not that impressive. It's really standard. It's a standard thriller. But there is really one idiotic turn by the filmmaker where Billy finds this crucial evidence that would bury the mayor, save his ass and everything else, and he finds it in a box just laying around outside. It's the stupidest fucking plot point I've ever seen.
Was there like an arrow pointing to it, hovering over it?
That's all it was missing was like a neon sign like here, here, here. It's the one scene that a quality filmmaker would have cut that, but whatever. Bottom line, it's by the numbers thriller with above average performances. It's engaging and fun to watch unfold. So even if you know how it ends, I still liked watching it. It was fun to watch. So I give it a 6 out of 10. Now let's go speed round. Scott, real quick, you saw Branded.
Yeah, Branded is a really interesting movie, and it's hard to explain succinctly, but I'll do my best here. Ed Stoppard, who I've never seen before, but apparently he's a big actor, plays Misha, a marketing expert in the near future who, as a child, was granted some sort of mysterious ability or something that didn't come to light until he was an adult, and this ability allows him to see consumer brands as trippy, balloon-shaped animals that consume the lives of everyday people in the city of Russia, city in Russia where he's at.
The city of Russia.
City in Russia.
We're in Russia, Russia.
Russia.
Doctor.
He attempts to thwart
Roger.
He attempts
The
to thwart
geography
the
class podcast, apparently.
So he attempts to thwart the quote-unquote evil corporation's ways of controlling spending by using his ability to fight off these creatures, and also attempts to win back the love of Lily Sobieski's Abby. Now, by the end of this movie, I got what they were going for. It had kind of an interesting message, but they implemented the weird too early for me to really let it soak in. So halfway through the movie, I had no idea what was going on, and it just was a befuddled mess. I didn't buy Lily Sobieski's Abby even a little bit, but Ed Stoppard was quite believable. The timing just didn't work for me. It's the wrong kind of weird for me. Like,
How were the special effects, though?
I didn't like them. They looked too cartoony. It didn't look like. I mean, granted, it's supposed to be because what he's seeing isn't real. Mm-hmm. He's just seeing like images of brands and that kind of thing. But it was too clowny, for a better way to say it, and it looked very.
Yeah, I know it's on
obviously,
iTunes, and I've really been tempted.
I'd be interested to see what you thought of it, but I'm not going to recommend it though. I would say it's an easy one to skip unless maybe you work in marketing, because it might be fascinated by it, because it's a marketer's kind of movie. But I give it a 4 out of 10.
Wow, that's not good. Box office, we don't have the totals yet because obviously we're recording early, so be sure to look to the website for that. But I have seen Mama's total, and it did make $28 million over the weekend.
That's so weird.
Nice.
Yeah, $28 million. It's like I never expected that. I thought it was going to be a small hit.
So apparently we'll all be seeing that for reviewing it next week.
Mama 2, Mama 3, Mama 4.
I'll be seeing it, so I will be reviewing it next week.
Okay.
All right, well, we've got 3 films we're going to be talking about. These all opened February 1st. The first one, Bullet to the Head. And this is an action film directed by Walter Hill based upon Alex Nolan's French graphic novel, Diplôme dans la tête. The film stars Sylvester Stallone, Jason Momoa, Sung Kang, and Christian Slater. Hope he's making a return. In the film, a hitman played by Sylvester Stallone teams with a young NYPD detective in a high-stakes investigation that leads from dingy back alleys all the way to the power corridors of New Orleans. The unlikely duo, brought together by 2 vicious murderers, take on all who stand in their way, willing to sacrifice everything to exact revenge. Brian, given your totally inscrutable liking of Expendables 2, I have to imagine that another outing with Sly would be high on your to-do list. Is this a bullet you're willing to take?
Wow.
Wow. Not really. It looks like a Steven Seagal movie that just got a better cast put into it. So
You're saying Stallone's better than Seagal?
Yes.
Yes.
I would say that.
I would
Yes.
say that's yeah. So it just it looks like you're run the mill. It looks about as mysterious or what have you as Broken City. I mean, you basically kind of know the whole story from the trailer. Doesn't look like there's going to be too many surprises. I'm sure there's a little bit of humor. It's lots of action. I mean, it's stuff that I like, but chances are I'm probably going to pay to see something else. But I definitely will check it out on Blu-ray or cable.
I was really surprised Walter Hill's the director. I mean, this is the guy that directed 48 Hours in the 1982 or something. And he's just now popping back. He's been gone for a while from the directing world.
I'm sure working with Nick Nolte was taxing.
It probably was very exhausting. He's done a few. He makes a really good gritty action thriller. So I'm interested. I'm really curious why Christian Slater's popping up, because he's really been the. If he shows up in a movie nowadays, it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
No.
I thought it looks like a very much a shut your brain off kind of action film, but I don't mean that in a bad way. I think the axe fight alone makes me want to see this movie.
Oh yeah, Jason Momoa. I love him.
Yeah,
he's great.
But with that said, it's probably one I'll wait for video. I don't think I'll see it in the theater.
I don't know. I kind of want to help Jason Momoa get his career back.
Yeah, I get that too.
I'm actually kind of hoping Aaron sees it just so that Sly will maybe make an appearance and review the film with us.
You'll get shot to hell, you.
Whoa. Just keep him in the, keep him down. Save him for a special occasion. All right, second one, Stand Up Guys. This is a crime comedy directed by Fisher Stevens and starring Al Pacino, Christopher Walken, and Alan Arkin. The film was nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Best Original Song for the song Not Running Anymore from John Bon Jovia, I think's his name.
Jovia.
Like Following 28 years in prison, Pacino's character Val gets out and reunites with his partner Doc, played by Walken. Doc has been contracted by Clap Hands, who I have no fucking idea what that is, to avenge his son's accidental death, though I'm assuming Clap Hands is Alan Arkin, to avenge his son's accidental death by killing Val. This film sounds so boring, I can't even come up with a good joke. So, Scotty, save me from trying. What do you think?
I don't have any jokes either, but I think we mentioned before this looks like bucket list for mobsters. I think it's a cool idea, but not enough to get me in the theater.
It's directed by Fisher Stevens. Fisher Stevens, if you're not aware, he's the idiot that divorced Michelle Pfeiffer.
Idiot.
That's really all he's accomplished
So that makes
in
his
his career.
bad film.
It just makes him a dummy.
Bad decision maker.
Yes, very poor decision maker. And if you saw him lately, you know he's regretting that. He looks like shit.
And she looks better every year.
Yeah, she looks fantastic. So I'm sure he sees her on the screen. He's like, man, I'm going to go make a Pacino movie.
Anybody interested in this, or should I move on?
I kind of think Scott described it well. Bucket list meets mobsters.
All right, well, there you go. Last film, Warm Bodies. Now, this is a romantic comedy zombie film, wrap your mind around that, based on Isaac Marion's popular novel of the same name. Written and directed by Jonathan Levine, the film stars Nicholas Hoult and Teresa Palmer. The film has several references to Romeo and Juliet, including character names such as R, wow, that's imaginative, and Julie. After a zombie apocalypse, R, a zombie, wanders around in America now filled with abandoned buildings, broken down cars, and hordes of his fellow undead, including his friend M, played by Rob Corddry. Julie Grigio, played by Teresa Palmer, and a group of her friends are sent out by her father from a heavily guarded, walled-off human enclave to retrieve and recover medical supplies from abandoned buildings. R and a pack of zombies attack the group, and after R kills Julie's boyfriend and eats his brain, he is overcome with love for her. He rescues her, and the two develop a relationship, causing R to slowly begin to come to life. Aaron, I've made plenty of jokes in the past about you being cold and heartless, and all of them are true. So Warm Bodies has to seem like the promise of a dream of a new life for you. Interested in getting that old hunk of coal in your chest beating again?
Well, you already know, you and I debated this a while back, that fuck no, this movie looks stupid. I just, every time I see the trailer.
Your cold heart will stay cold.
Exactly. Okay. It might even get colder. I saw the trailer again when I went and saw Silver Linings Playbook, and it's groan-inducing. I just don't find anything appealing about it. I think it looks bad. It seems like it's a one-note joke movie. I think the joke's going to wear out in the first 15 minutes. I just have no desire. I would rather see Stand Up Guys.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, you haven't said anything in a while. Are you coughing still, or anything?
No, it's just this is not really something that appeals to me either. I think this is it's a decent movie. I think it's one of those that's probably more of a cable watch. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting, and I use that word loosely, concept with the switching the zombies back from zombies to normal. But this looks absolutely horrible.
Now, when you say cable, do you mean when it's on HBO, or you're going to wait all the way until it's on USA at 3 a.m?
I'll watch it on HBO. I hate commercials. So I will not watch a movie on FX or USA or TNT or TBS, whatever. If it's a movie that I haven't seen, I will not watch it on one of those. I just hate being taken out of the movie by commercials. So when I say cable, I mean HBO, Showtime, Cinemax, whatever.
Scotty, what about you? You interested in this?
I actually love the concept. I think it's clever.
Thank you.
The idea of a zombie going backwards from having a chance of coming back and being real. It's goofy, it's silly, but I love the idea. It will probably be pretty cheesy, but I want to see it just to see how it plays out. I just worry that, like you said, it's going to be a one-note joke, and because the trailer gives this vibe that it's trying too hard.
Yes,
and
I
really hope that that they're just doing that just to sell the movie, and that it actually has some good heart to it. I'm stoked to see it.
The book has actually been quite a success, so I'm hoping that means that the story is quality and that quality story has been translated into the film. I'm actually pretty excited to see this one too, so it's you and me, baby.
All right.
You and me against the world. All right, guys. Well, of these three films coming out February 1st, Bullet to the Head, Stand Up Guys, and Warm Bodies, which one are you most likely and most interested to see in theaters? Brian?
I'm going with Stand Up Guys.
Scotty?
Warm Bodies.
Oh, I'm sorry. Brian, did you have more to say? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no. I like the characters in it. I like mob stuff. So out of these three, that would be my pick.
I'm kind of surprised by that.
I am too.
Scotty?
Yeah, Warm Bodies.
Aaron?
Bullet to the Head.
All right.
Because that's what I'd rather have than watch Warm Bodies.
I actually want to see Bullet to the Head as well. The fights look really interesting. I like Momoa. But of these three, Warm Bodies would be the one I'd be most likely to go into a theater and see, actually. So once Scotty, you and me,
All right,
we win it. We take it all.
I need to move to Texas, apparently.
Move to Texas.
Because that's where I live, and he and I can go watch movies because he doesn't see them by
I don't have
himself.
to go alone.
That's right. Yeah, he doesn't like to go alone. Okay, you can hear us on iTunes, Zune, Google, listen on your Stitcher Radio app. Give us a thumbs up if you do, or any RSS feed, as well as Rockford College Radio, Thursdays from 4 to 6 Central. Doesn't have nearly as much impact when Brian's not swearing to that entire portion.
Fucking switcher, goddamn.
Hey, maybe we can cut that out and just kind of save that, just slip that in there during every week.
Every now and then. Listening, I fucking tunes.
What's this movie?
What's this movie? Each week we play ours or our listener suggested clip from a movie, and if you think you know what the clip is, email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com or send us a direct message on Twitter at @H_outsider, and we'll announce those that got it correct on the air and give you a proper whole shout out. Like I said, we are doing this a little early, so if you send in your guess and it comes in after we've recorded, we will mention you on the next week's show. Last week's answer was Scott's sex drive.
My sex drive.
Yep, it was Scott's sex drive. People that got it correct were Mr. Anyone, Mark T, Dan M, and Michael H. So congratulations, guys. This week it's my turn. So if you think you know it, send us an email at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com. Here's your clip.
You know what it's like trying to get something done around here.
I've informed Ohashi of your crime. He's spoken to a captain in New York. We know the kind of man you are.
You dumb fuck. You don't know one thing about me, all right? Hey, listen. It's you and your self-righteous bullshit, man. It's gonna cost me my goddamn job. Hey, I'm talking to you. If you pull it, you better use it.
Okay, now let's go to the couch. We're talking about the latest in TV and DVD news. Even though the Zombieland sequel is apparently not going to happen, a small screen version is definitely in the works, with casting calls already going out for the pilot.
Yeah, originally this was supposed to be a TV show, and it was deemed to be too difficult to make into a show who would be interested in watching a zombie TV show. I mean, imagine who would watch a zombie show?
It's ridiculous. I'd never watch it.
I know, luckily AMC wasn't so short-sighted. But so the TV script was turned into a movie. Now, of course, they've completely rethought that, and they're going to try and make this into a TV show, changing some of the character dynamics a little bit, making some of the relationships different than they were in the film. Going to give more backstory to these characters than the film was obviously able to give. So basically, you're talking like a TV reboot of the Zombieland movie. I'm interested in this, but only if they're able to bring some of the things to the TV show that the movie had. I loved the subtitles that would come up and the words, the graphics that would come up, like the whole double tap and all those sorts of things. If they can bring that same sort of sensibility to the TV show and keep it more a comedy and not trying to step on the Walking Dead's dick, then I would be really happy. I do hope, though, that this also would go to like an AMC or an FX, a channel that can do a zombie show like this justice, and please God, not NBC or Fox or something like that.
It'll be dead. It'll be dead in 3 weeks if you put it on Fox.
They've just completely cut the nuts off of it.
This is going to sound hypocritical considering how high I was talking about seeing warm bodies, but I'm tired of zombie stuff. It's just going to have to do something different. Like I said, Warm Bodies did something different with zombies. Zombieland did something different, but we've already seen it. I don't know if I need more of it. It would really have to bring that kind of comedy to it, not just be another zombie show. I get that in Walking Dead.
I do know that they originally were going to have the Zombie Kill of the Week as part of the weekly show.
The what's that?
The Zombie Kill of the Week. You know how they did Woody Harrelson's Zombie Kill of the Week?
Yeah.
They were going to incorporate, when it was originally going to be a TV series, that's what they were going to incorporate.
Mm-hmm.
That would be really funny.
That would be funny. I don't know if that joke would wear out, but it'd still be funny to see. I think with Walking Dead, I'm kind of on board with you, Scott. I mean, I hate to say that. But
you're on board with him, or that you feel the same way?
I kind of feel either one. I feel the same way. Walking Dead kind of has this down, so I don't know how you do it and make it so it's something else I'd want to watch. I mean, it's the same basic concept. A bunch of people stranded alone in a zombie apocalypse. It's no different, just a little more serious for Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's the comedy elements that really make it so much. I mean, using that logic, you could say, well, Zombieland the film is really no different than Dawn of the Dead. They're quite different.
I don't know if a series could be that different. How's that? It's going to be basically the same thing. A bunch of people wandering around trying to make jokes out of zombie kills, and eventually, it just seems like it works great for a film.
The margin of error is a lot slimmer due to The Walking Dead.
Yes,
basically.
there you go. To make it stand out, it's going to have to do a lot. So if it can do that, great. If they can get Woody Harrelson, I'll watch it.
That won't happen.
If he just decides to go back and do TV again, I'd watch that. Just to see him play Tallahassee again, I'd be happy. And a little piece of news that did just pop up was that Zombieland is actually going to go to TV series for Amazon. You know how Netflix is developing their own series and Hulu. Well, now Amazon is interested in picking up Zombieland. So we'll see how that unfolds and maybe get into that a little bit more in detail next week. Well, Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks have secured the rights to Masters of the Air in order to utilize the material for yet another World War II miniseries. They did, the Pacific and
Band of Brothers.
Thank you.
Yep.
This time focusing on the airmen from the war. Have they made too many of these?
Teaming up with HBO for these epic World War II miniseries has pretty much been phenomenal for just about everybody involved. I kind of felt that Band of Brothers was basically kind of the watermark, and I don't know if the Pacific, for me personally, it didn't seem to quite reach that mark. That said, they were both very good, and I really think kind of necessary, because Spielberg and Hanks, they're kind of on this personal mission to kind of make sure that we as a country don't forget the men and women of World War II, and quite frankly, they're kind of dying off. They're becoming fewer and fewer, and we're kind of in danger of forgetting them, so to speak. So, to answer your question, I don't think that they've made too many. but I don't think we really need to see maybe 10 or 20 of these miniseries. 3 or 4, okay, but really much more than that, I don't think we really need it.
I got to disagree with you.
Okay.
I think that the history of the airmen who fought in World War II is rich enough and interesting enough that they could make a good 12-episode arc. I mean, if you consider how a lot of U.S. airmen, when the United States wasn't engaged in the war, actually went to Britain and flew for Britain in the war, starting off, say, the series with a look into those men who went overseas to fight a war their own country wasn't yet engaged in is incredibly interesting. And then, involving the Tuskegee Airmen at some point, I think there's enough of it. And I love the idea of them going into the air. Band of Brothers was phenomenal. And I agree with you. The Pacific, while not as good, was still incredibly good. But how many times have we seen the ground war of World War II done? We haven't really seen a whole lot of the air war. So I would love to see this. In fact, if they were then to go on to, into the deep with the naval aspect of this huge element to World War II was the submarines and the warfare and figuring out how to create these aircraft carriers and get them working properly. It's an amazingly rich history that we don't see nearly as much as we do the GI soldiers. So I, for one, would almost sign up for HBO just to watch this. But I think it's a fantastic idea.
Wow, you're a big fan.
See, I'm just,
well, I mean, let's face it. I mean, you do a History Channel special for an hour or 2 hours, unless it's along the production lines of Hatfield and McCoy's, you're not going to get a lot of people to watch it. But you do a well-produced you kind of bring in that human element, the storylines that suck the people in and get them, kind of attached to it, so that they're actually learning the history, but not realizing they're learning history.
Right. Giving them their medicine and some candy.
Right. And there you go.
And we live in a day and age where people think of air fighting now as drone aircraft and these ultra expensive stealth aircraft that we can build. Some kids need to remember back in the day, real people flew these things and real people had to aim with the fucking thing at the end of their
with
plane.
The iron sight. And
an iron sight and to shoot
that slid open,
Exactly. People need to remember back in the day, this was a much different type of air combat than they see these days. And just to remind younger generations or even just make them aware is worth it in and of itself.
I think air combat reached its peak with Top Gun. I'm just saying.
Well, yes, obviously.
Now, if they bring back Goose and Maverick, I'll watch this. That's the only way
we all have a need for speed.
All right. Now, Justin, you got to watch the Geek Dream Fringe come to its final conclusion. How was it?
It was good. I'm a real fan of long finales or long closings of a movie or a show where you get an insight into where these characters are going and those sorts of things. The finale for Fringe was quick, and once the resolution came, you didn't get a whole lot of what's going to happen with these characters, which is, I guess, okay. I wish that I gotten more, but it was very sweet and really well done, and it was a smart ending to a show that started 5 years ago and just seemed so. Everybody wanted to write it off as an X-Files ripoff. Mm-hmm. Hopefully people stuck around, not enough of them, unfortunately, but enough stuck around to realize that it was not in any way whatsoever an X-Files ripoff. It was a highly enjoyable show on its own, and I love that at the end of it, they were able to bring back some things that you saw in those early seasons as ways of getting to the end. And so they were constantly kind of calling back for those people who were fans of the originally. Here let me show you this thing again. Oh, see, we're bringing it back around a little bit. It was good, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was inventive. I didn't see where some of the stuff went, and I wouldn't say there were any tears shed, but it was definitely worth a couple of sniffles at the end with a couple of people's final moments. It was good. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and someday I look forward to rewatching the series again.
And I will say, even though I've never really watched the show, I am happy that Fox,
It's shocking.
let a geek series like this, I mean, it's a total geek series, actually reach its conclusion.
Yeah, despite its lack of viewers, they held on to it, and it's a rare moment of me actually having to say thank you to Fox. I don't like it. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth, but there you go.
Why did they decide to do that if it had such small
I don't know.
viewership?
Because they've gotten so much flack for all the other shows they've canceled. I don't know.
Yeah.
They've got no other shows to put on the air, so they.
Yeah, that's true. There's only so many reality midget shows they can do.
Reality midget shows.
Yep. Let's go to DVD and Blu-ray, Scott.
All right, this is for January 29th. The first movie that's coming out is Hotel Transylvania. This is an animated feature starring Adam Sandler as the voice of Dracula, who manages a hotel in the monster world and is overprotective of his teenage daughter, who has caught the eye of a boy from the real world. Aaron is the only one that reviewed this.
Yes, I did.
And he gave it a 650.
It's a fun movie.
Bro, you got to warn me when you're going to do that.
Seriously, like, the only guy I know that can make Dracula sound like Mario.
It's a me, a Dracula.
7 psychopaths. A struggling screenwriter inadvertently becomes entangled in the Los Angeles criminal underworld after his oddball friends kidnap a gangster's beloved Shih Tzu.
I want to see that.
I do too. I am actually kind of sad I missed that one in the theater because John Malkovich looks great in that movie. Paranormal Activity 4. This is obviously the fourth film in the There's an Invisible Demon in My House series, which takes place years after the disappearance of Katie and Hunter from the third installment. This is one that we actually all saw, and we reviewed it back in episode 65. Brian and I gave it a 4 out of 10. Aaron gave it a 6, and Justin gave it a 5. Next is The Awakening. In 1921, England is overwhelmed by the loss and grief of World War I. Hoax exposer Florence Cathcart visits a boarding school to explain sightings of a child ghost. Everything she believes unravels as the missing begin to show themselves. And lastly, Cold Light of Day. After his family is kidnapped during their sailing trip in Spain, a young Wall Street trader is confronted by the people responsible, intelligent agents looking to recover a mysterious briefcase.
Or as I like to call it, John McClane and Superman team up.
I'm actually more interested now to see that Cold Light of Day, given how much I loved the trailer for Man of Steel, and yet not having... I don't think I've ever seen a movie with... What is his name?
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, Henry Cavill. I don't think I've actually seen a movie with him in it. So, considering this one's kind of an action-y film, yeah, I'm actually want to see that now. Whereas before, I was kind of like, meh.
As I mentioned, you can check out those reviews on the mentioned episodes. Otherwise, we also have a YouTube page, which is at youtube.com/The Ho Podcast.
Ooh, yeah. Hit me with that unknown shit. Flashback.
Well, with that, we'll move on to our flashback. This is a section where each one of us brings a little-known or obscure film to the table that we hope you'll give a chance to. So, and this week it's Justin's turn. So, Justin, what do you have for us?
Well, I referenced this movie last week, and it's one that I thoroughly enjoy. This one's Out of Sight. It's about 15 years old now. It's one of Clooney's early films. He had a little bit of a name. He had the bat nipples by this point, but he hadn't gone on to the larger fame and fortune that he would eventually. So this wasn't a movie that you could just hang his name across the top of it and expect droves of people to come see. And it's also one of Jennifer Lopez's early films. She had already done, what was that movie she did about the girl? Selena.
Yeah, I love
she'd done
Selena.
that. So she had a little bit of acting fame to her, but again, not much. Strangely enough, though, Jennifer Lopez, for me, is almost the star of this movie, even over George Clooney. It's based on, as we also said last week, an Elmore Leonard book. It was directed by Steven Soderbergh, who I just absolutely love. And this was actually the first collaboration of Soderbergh and Clooney in a film. They would go on to do several more, but this is where it first started. And this one also led to the spin-off TV series of Karen Sisco, which I don't think lasted too long. But this movie, it's about a bank robber played by Clooney and a U.S. Marshal played by Jennifer Lopez, and their relationship. Is it a relationship? Is she just hunting him as George Clooney goes after Albert Brooks, who, while in jail, foolishly bragged about a bunch of uncut diamonds that he had hidden in his home. It also has got Don Cheadle in it, Isaiah Washington's in it, Steve Zahn, Ving Rhames. It's got a fantastic cast. It is an amazingly well-done film Jennifer Lopez is scorchingly good in it, especially in her scenes with George Clooney. I cannot recommend this one enough. If you're a Soderbergh fan, I'm sure you've seen it, but if you haven't, pick it up. Not a lot of people talk about this when they always talk about other Clooney films, other Soderbergh movies. Out of Sight's a smaller known one. More people need to see it. It is entertaining from beginning to end, and the romantic scenes are just stunning. So well done.
Yeah, and when Jennifer Lopez passes away someday, this will be the movie they reference the most. This and Anaconda.
Yeah. Well, for completely different reasons. Even Samuel L. Jackson's in this one.
Oh, his cameo was classic.
And Michael Keaton, for God's sake.
Yeah, Batman shows up. The original, actually, both Batmans show up.
2 Batmans in this film, people.
2 Batmans, 1 movie.
That's right. Next week, since we're alternating the flashbacks and recasting the classics. Next week, I will be recasting Rocky Horror Picture Show. Let me warn you now, my recasting is brilliant.
Jesus.
Hey, also, I just checked. Out of Sight is actually on Instant Play on Netflix, too, so you can check that out without having to rent it.
Oh, great.
Excellent.
See it.
Okay, our From the Outside In topic. This week, what truly constitutes ripping off a film or TV series in this day and age? People keep saying that Hunger Games ripped off Battle Royale, Bourne rips off James Bond, Tarantino rips off everybody. But are these truly rip-offs? Or with everything that's been done, I mean, all these story elements have been used over and over and over and over again. Is it even possible to rip off a filmmaker anymore?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, it's possible. All you have to do is go to, check out the Asylum's movies and their just spat of films that rip off, and blatantly so. They don't even try and hide the fact. These are the people that made that film, The War of the Hobbits, that New Line had to step in and sue them because they were stepping in on The Hobbit. They make films like American Warships, which Battleship, too shit.
Kiera the Brave.
Yeah.
Transmorphers versus Transformers.
The Day the Earth Stopped. This is ripping off. It's blatant. It's not done to parody. It's not done tongue-in-cheek. This is, I'm stealing your shit, and I'm just going to change a word in the title. Oh. I don't think The Hunger Games is in any way a rip-off of Battle Royale, because then you could just say, well, Battle Royale ripped off a lot of its stuff from the book with the kids on the island.
Lord of the Flies?
Flies. A lot of stuff gets used in that Battle Royale, so come on.
Yeah, like when you've got Thor or Almighty Thor with Richard Grieco as Loki.
Is that a real movie?
That's an actual movie.
I want to see that.
I have seen like the first 10 minutes of it, and it's oh God, it's not even so good so bad it's good. It's just
awful.
And the longer you watch it, the longer you just go, why haven't I turned this off yet? Or you got Alien versus Predator and the knockoff Alien versus Hunter with William Catt, who you know from Greatest American Hero.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what about popular movies? I mean, when we're talking, granted, these, basement dwellers that you're talking about, but there's also some major shows like Alphas. I think is almost a ripoff of Heroes. And
which one?
Alphas is a sci-fi show. It just got canceled, but it's very similar to Heroes in that vein. And to me, that almost feels like a ripoff. Or anytime a genre takes off, and I hate to use it because Brian will get angry, but like say when Lost took off, and every studio had a Lost ripoff the next year.
Oh God, there were so many. That Surface? And most of them didn't last more than 1 or 2 seasons.
I liked Surface.
Surface was terrible.
The monster thing on NBC?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It was not terrible.
Well, you're the only one that saw it, Brian, so tell us what you thought.
Lake Bell was the only good thing about that show.
They had one of the things like Heroes, they had too many kind of multiple storylines going on at the same time. They really should have kind of stayed focused to kind of hook in the audience, I think. Then they could have branched out, but I thought it was good. Whatever. So,
well, back to my question. Brian's really defending that Surface that lasted a whole 8 episodes. Back to my question. When these happen, when things become popular, and then the next year you see tons of movies that obviously have borrowed from that cavalcade of intellectual property, Does that bother you? Or does that make you automatically steer away from it? Or do you just check it out just out of curiosity's sake?
Depends on the property. I mean, something like Hunger Games, I never even heard of Battle Royale until then. But something like Jason Bourne, I love James Bond, I love Jason Bourne, but to me they're two different things. Just because they're spies and they're action spies, they're not the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, one's American and one's British.
Well, yeah. I think the bigger question is where do you draw the distinction between if it's a ripoff or if it's its own idea? Because I think those are two good examples. Hunger Games is a little bit based very close to Battle Royale because in concept, but the only real similarities between Bourne and James Bond to me are that they're both spies. They're both action spies.
You know, if writer or director A has kind of a dark, twisted mind, but writer director B has more of maybe a romantic or comedic mind, and writer director B says, you know what, hey, that's a good idea. I can make it fresh. I can take it in this direction. Then I don't look at it as ripping off. I look at that as inspiration. So if you've got something that, and let's face it, every time there's a movie that comes out that says, like, let's say a Western that comes out, word gets around between the studios, hey, we've been shopping the scripts, company A bought it. They're moving forward with it. They've got so-and-so attached to it. We've got to have our own to compete with that. There's always that Tombstone and Wyatt Earp that come out in the same year.
Armageddon and Deep Impact. Exactly. Those are. Or what was it? The Volcano and Dante's Peak.
Right.
Those both sucked.
Yeah, I mean,
those classics.
So there's always these, and they obviously get word at the same time, and it's a rush to get who can get theirs out first. Look at the White House disaster movies that's coming out later.
Oh yeah.
So it's. I don't know. I don't know if that's one's ripping off the other per se, but there's an idea that gets out there and people kind of run with it and take their own takes on it. So
if it's too similar, does it take you away from it, or does it? That was my question. Does it make you not want to see it, or does it make you curious to see it?
It makes whichever one's got the better trailer
and the better stars, frankly.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not like I'm not going to see both of them. I saw both Deep Impact and Armageddon. I saw both.
If you've got Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck and all these big names and stuff, and then you've got versus
Elijah Wood,
Morgan Freeman,
and Lily Sobieski, and these people that you recognize, but you're not as drawn to them because they're not as established as these others, then you're going to go to the one with the more established people.
Right, but my point is that it makes good conversation. I mean, that's something to talk about. Is like the comparison and contrast between two similar films. I don't think that's a bad thing.
I think that is a very bad thing, and I don't go to a movie to compare it to a lesser similar movie that's out within a month of each other.
I'm with you, Scott. I think it does make for fun conversation, and quite often it makes for fun geek fights. I don't think I've ever seen anybody back up Deep Impact as being a more entertaining film than Armageddon. And if you are a person who's done that, you are obviously mistaken and should change your opinion. But
none of that was directed towards me, huh?
Do what?
None of that was directed towards me, huh?
Do you think Deep Impact was better?
I enjoyed Deep Impact more than Armageddon.
Oh my God! Yet another reason you need to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jesus
that's
Christ!
Just wrong.
Pink slips in the mail. Just saying.
But yeah, I mean, that's what makes for fun conversation. Who did what better and why? Whereas a lot of films, you can't really make that kind of compare and contrast. But there's only so many stories that you can really tell. I mean, everything's been told. Now it's just down to, the execution of telling it and the little nuances that you can bring to it. So to say that we're stealing from each other, unless you're doing it as blatantly as the people on the Sci-Fi Network do or the people at the Asylum do it, I really don't think so. And there's a lot of things that are like Deep Impact and Armageddon or the White House movies coming up that I think really they're not stealing from each other. It's just certain ideas enter the social consciousness, and within two different studios, two different people just happen to come up with very similar ideas. I mean, we've had a lot of talk about the White House and President Obama and people threatening his life, and it doesn't surprise me that two different companies thought we should make a movie kind of like this, or what have you. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Now, what about, and this is real specific to Tarantino and filmmakers like him. Rodriguez, I would even put in this camp. But he is someone that a lot of people have given him grief and say he rips other filmmakers off. And he definitely does borrow from some filmmakers' ideas, and specifically other films. Do you consider him ripping anyone off? Because I personally feel like he molds it into his own thing. He does borrow some of the tropes, but he makes it his own.
He takes, especially, like you say, Tarantino and stuff, he takes certain genres or period movies, like, so he loves the 70s stuff. I mean, and that's the stuff that inspired him, and I'm fine with that. There's not many 70s kind of campy action car chase movies or blaxploitation films that actually translate well to view nowadays. He takes certain aspects of those, puts his weird, twisted sensibilities and creates a script around that and makes his own movie. I'm totally fine with that. But if you're, I would start to say if you remake something like Death Race 2000, which kind of was done, but then you're kind of stealing from that. But so that's a bad example. But I don't know if you take something like that, one of those properties, and remake it with a similar title, and it's basically the same movie but just updated actors, but you're trying to come across as your own, then yeah, you're absolutely stealing it. But I think he takes certain aspects of those films and puts his own sensibilities and his own thoughts and his own plots and everything, and just says, hey, I'm making my own movie, and I'm fine with that. I don't look at him as stealing other stuff. I look at him as being inspired.
Yeah, I mean, there's a world of difference between ripping someone off and being inspired by or making an homage to. He never, in my opinion, rips someone or something off. Everything he does comes from love and comes from a sense of joy. It's not just, hey, what can I take, rip off whole cloth, and then make a quick buck off of. Everything with him is about love. But you do bring up an interesting point, though. Should we consider all these reboots and remakes, are these all rip-offs?
Yes. A lot of them, if you make, like Brian said, the same movie, you're just updating it with current events, that's ripping them off. That's not original. There's nothing original to that. That's just, I want to make a quick cash grab, use the same material, make it in, 2013, and bam, it's like an all-new movie. It's not an all-new movie. It's no...
So then the Psycho remake you would consider a rip-off, whereas something else like... the Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka, maybe not so much because they did it in such a different way.
Yes, and you had to bring up the Psycho remake?
Well, it's because it is almost a shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah, exactly. Right, that was what I was going to say. It was all shot
that's
for
a complete and total rip-off of Alfred Hitchcock. Absolutely. And Gus Van Sant, who I think is a talented director, totally ripped him off. But
in the fashion of trying to create it shot for shot, just basically the only thing changing is it's in color and it's got newer people.
And he wasn't hiding that fact. It wasn't like he was trying to portray that this was his work.
Wouldn't that be more of an homage than even Tarantino's movies?
No, it's a blatant ripoff. At least an homage is you take.
See, because I would say it like if he would make that and even change, maybe let's say even change the time period that it's in, and then you just call it Really Nutty. To me, that would be a ripoff. But the fact that you're
it cray cray,
crazy bitch.
No,
then you're saying, okay, I'm claiming this as my own thought. That was part of the lure of that movie, was the fact that, hey, I like this movie so much, I want to redo this movie. I'm recreating everything, even down to the really long opening shot that comes in on that building. And this is I'm showing my love for Hitchcock and this movie.
My opinion of an homage is that you're inspired, like you said, inspired by what you saw, and you make it your own. That's an homage. You take elements and you make it your own. A ripoff is doing the exact same thing, which is exactly what Gus Van Sant. I thought it was lazy filmmaking. I thought it was an awful movie. You can't. If you're going to repeat it, that's a ripoff. And that movie is a prime example of what I would say is a ripoff. You're just adding the one scene of, Norman Bates masturbating doesn't make it something original.
That's all they added to that?
That's the only difference between the stories, yeah. hated that movie. Anyway, well, if you guys have any thoughts, be sure to email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com. Speaking of emails, Justin, you got an email to read?
Yeah, sure
Oh, do we have to?
This one's from Dan. Wow. I have to ask, did you guys have too much Red Bull and Pixie Sticks before this week's show? You were all in rare form, but Brian was on a whole other level.
Yes,
I usually have to swing my door at work while I listen. I'm assuming he means I usually have to shut my door at work while I listen, but this week I shut and locked it. Not that I'm complaining. I was laughing the whole time. You guys continue to be my favorite podcast by a long shot. Keep up the great work. This week's movie quote was Sex Drive, a fun, if somewhat paint-by-the-numbers, raunchy teen movie. I did think Seth Green's character and the inclusion of the Amish as a whole was pretty funny. And I have to give a shout-out to Justin for picking Blade 2 last week. I didn't get a chance to write in, but I absolutely love that movie, and the scene he picked was a perfect one. Well, obviously. As always, you guys rock. Thanks, Dan. P.S. I would love for someone other than Scott, Jesus H., to see Moonrise Kingdom. God. Every week somebody's saying that. I'm going to have to do it. Jump on that grenade.
You guys say that
for all
every
of us.
week.
My wife and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I was surprised by Scott's response. It marks the only time where the show's rating was decidedly different than my own.
I will promise, I'm promising, I will watch it before the next show.
I will, too. My promise is made.
So
All right, peer pressure. I'll do it too.
Poor
And if we
Scott.
can all sit on Scotty, that would be fantastic.
Now he's dreading it. He's like
Yeah,
not going to show up
seriously.
next week. He's like, guys, I can't make it. I've got a terminal illness. It just popped up.
I got to catch a death today.
We've got another one from Ben, who obviously says, Sex Drive, I fucking love that movie. Oh, so Ben got it right, and I didn't have his name earlier. Holy crap, I'm horrible. Also, thanks for the shirt. I got a lot of cougars stopping me at Target and the post office asking me about the shirt, Ben. And I'm sorry about not including you earlier, Ben, but you're getting more shout out now, so there you go. Okay, you can find us at thehollywoodoutsider.com, facebook.com/The Hollywood Outsider. Email us any thoughts or ideas you had at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com. Tell your friends, subscribe on iTunes, Zoom, Google, listen on your fucking Stitcher Radio app. Give us a thumbs up if you do, or any plain old RSS feed, as well as RockfordCollegeRadio.com Thursdays from 4 to 6. Thanks to each of you guys for being here. Drunken Brian, thanks for being here.
Just glad to be sober.
Do you feel bad about last week, or you feel pretty proud?
Oh, I'm damn proud.
Good for you. Justin McCumber, author of a Minor Magic, available now on Amazon and Kindle.
Thank you very much for having me on. It is a pleasure as always.
And Scott Clark. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. My last show before I start student teaching this week.
Oh, that's right. You're going to be with little kids now.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Oh,
I'll have to come
You're
over
so jealous.
Been watching my language a little bit, if you haven't noticed.
just in case.
I actually passed out flyers for our podcast.
That's funny because last week I just passed out.
No, I passed out flyers for our upcoming screening that we were trying to do for Bully, because I thought that teachers would like to see it. And I gave them the flyer. I said, "Come see the movie. Don't listen to the podcast. It's vulgar as hell."
Oh,
Wow, way to pimp the show, man.
yeah. Good thing you're not getting into marketing. Jesus.
Okay, from all of us, the next time you guys go to the theater, buy popcorn.
I know last week was pretty fucking fun.
Especially when you started to come down near the end. If you listen to the show, like, slowly but surely, he starts forgetting what he's going to say. And, yeah.
Why when you imitate me do I sound kind of like Dice?
You do. Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet,
Hickory dickory dock.
eating her curds and whey. Oh. At some point, you want people to just go away graciously. Like, admit defeat, man. At least Sam Kinison went out with a bang, you know?
I don't think that was by his choice, though.
It wasn't, but maybe Dice needs to take a strong curve. He's overweight, and it just
But he's like overweight in a bad way.
yeah. It looks
They're kind of greasy.
yeah, like he's eating nothing but cheeseburgers, and I think he's
All the
eating,
way down, he's like, oh.
Yeah.
reaching around the back of his head to put that cigarette in his mouth.
I can't reach it anymore. Oh.
All I know is that riff in that during that break. That was comedic, just gold.
How do you remember?
Who's that?
That's Scott.
Scott who?
Now, if it was really Scotty, he would have been here 11 minutes ago when we were all ready to go.
Yeah,
Ready.
the Scott Clark I know would have.
One of them, the guy shot himself on the parking lot, right?
Yes. On his way out, bam.
How does that
I shot-
happen?
I don't know. I mean, hell, just, you get a gun and it's armed and, loaded. Just shit happens. Ask Brian. I mean, you've lost, what, 2 or 3 toes?
I heard that there's a bomb threat.
I didn't hear that.
Well, that's because I drop it like, it's hot.
There's some exciting dogs going on. Are those yours, Brian?
Yep.
Those are the dogs. Forget it. I'm not even going to finish that joke.
I guess it is time to fuck that dog.
That dog's like, I ain't going to fuck myself.
Let me know when they're satisfied, B.
Did you see the Game of Thrones one with the Seinfeld? I put that one on Facebook yesterday. Someone took scenes from Game of Thrones, and the intro music from Seinfeld, like they like when he's riding in on his horse, they got that going, and then they do the scene, and they
That's pretty funny.
That's probably funny.
and then they do like a laugh track in the middle of like the scenes when they're scenes that aren't funny, like when Tyrion is like smacking around Joffrey. Every time he smacks him, it's like a perfectly timed like laugh track. And then that scene when he's walking away from him, like saying whatever he does, they do the little.
But Aaron, if you do that mama thing one more time,
I know.
I will kick you in the balls.
I'm not going to do it during the show. Shush.
I don't want to hear it at all. I will find you and I will hurt you.
Papa.
Shut the fuck up.
Okay, let's fuck this dog.
There's way too much dog fucking going on here.
Is there really ever too much, Brian?
No, there's not.
We're gonna get PETA writing this in.
I fucked them too.
Oh, that was funny. All right.
All right.
All right.
Where did you find a Jawa soundboard?
Look, I can't help it if 2 out of the 4 of us are fun. It's not my fault.